My best friend's brother was out of the army. I heard he'd been injured on a mission. Lost the ability to have kids. My friend Carol was practically in mourning. I'm child-free by choice and now my brother's shooting blanks. It wailed. It's like our family name. Finley is at its fin, the end of the line. We're finished. A few days later. I finally met this legendary tough-as-nails brother of hers. And my world tilted on its axis. He looked exactly like my daughter's father. The man I'd slept with years ago. Carol was sobbing dramatically into her beer bottle at a barbecue joint. I was even planning on setting you two up when he got back. She slurred. Nellie could have been my honest-to-God niece. The man who can't, you know. He's basically a dud and you're my best friend. I couldn't do that to you. As she spoke, her phone buzzed on the table. Carol was already passed out. Her head on the sticky table. Completely oblivious. I hesitated. But when the insistent ringing started up for the third time, I picked it up for her. Mom says. If you're not dead, get your ass home. The voice was deep, rough around the edges and strangely pleasant. I pinched my earlobe, which had suddenly gone hot. Hello, this is a friend of Carol's. We're at a grill house. Would you be able to come and pick her up? There was no way. Carol was getting home under her own power tonight. And I'd had a few drinks myself. A ride would be a lifesaver. Before the man on the other end could respond, Carol's head shot up from the table as if she'd been resurrected. Oh, my poor brother. She howled. Spent his youth at the academy. Got to be an old man and he's probably still a virgin. And now no one's ever going to want him. The other end of the line went unnervingly silent. She's had a lot to drink. Address number 8 South Ring Road. The line went dead. Soon. A black SUV pulled up and a tall man got out. He wore a rugged work jacket. His frame defined by broad shoulders and long legs. Couldn't see his face in the dim light. Only a sharp, imposing silhouette. At that exact moment, a video call came through on my phone. Is that Nellie? Carol mumbled. Squinting at my screen, calling so late. I hope everything's okay. You should take it. My brother's here. She waved a floppy hand at the approaching figure. A knot of parental anxiety tightened in my stomach. Without a proper greeting for the man. I just waited for him to get closer. Before stepping aside to answer the call. Nellie's tiny, beaming face immediately filled the screen. Mommy. Her cheerful smile was an instant relief. Hey, sweetie. Why are you still awake? I missed you. In the background, I could hear my mom's voice. I took her down to the creek to catch crawfish today. And she's been wired ever since. Refused to sleep until she talked to you. You're still out just catching up with Carol. My mom had taken Nellie to visit our old family home for a few days. Giving me a rare bit of quiet. Is Auntie Carol there? Nellie's face squished against the camera again. Mommy, I want to talk to Auntie Carol. I glanced back towards the restaurant entrance. Carol had been hoisted over the tall man's shoulder. Like a sack of potatoes and was being unceremoniously dumped into the passenger seat of the SUV. That's right, dumped. The corner of my mouth twitched. He really was a man of action. Having Nellie was an accident. 4 years ago, I just gone through a bad breakup. I was at a bar trying to drown my sorrows when I met him. He was a paradox of smoldering intensity and buttoned-up restraint. Every breath he took seemed to land squarely on every one of my weak spots. Fueled by liquid courage, I took him home. To my surprise, we were perfectly in sync. Even now, I can remember the shiver that went through me when his calloused hands brushed against my skin. At the time, I thought maybe this could be the start of something real. But when I woke up the next morning, he was taking a phone call. His expression suddenly grim and serious. Copy that, I'm on my way. He hung up and was on his feet in an instant. Pulling on his clothes, scribbled a string of numbers on a notepad. I have an emergency deployment. You can reach me at this number. And then he was gone. I never even learned his name. I assumed that was the end of it. But a month later, I found out I was pregnant. With no other choice, I tried the number he'd left again and again. No one ever answered. It dawned on me then that I'd been played. He wasn't interested. The emergency was just an excuse to leave. And the number was a fake to get rid of me without a scene. For health reasons, I couldn't terminate the pregnancy. So I had the baby. The next morning, a hungover Carol called me to complain. My brother is so rough. He bruised my arm getting me out of the car. I'm telling you, Ava. You can't ever date a guy like that. He's got violent tendencies. Her rant was cut short by a low warning voice in the background. Carol, she went silent immediately. Then a new sycophantic tone took over. Brew, are you free this afternoon? My friend needs help moving some boxes. No. Perfect. Carol said to me, completely ignoring his response. I found you some free labor for this afternoon. He'll help you move your stuff. It's fine. I can handle it. He's practically family. Don't be shy. He's unemployed and just sitting around the house all day. Anyway. I thought she was joking. But that afternoon she showed up at my shop. And trailing behind her was a tall, familiar man. I own a women's lingerie boutique in the city. I've been running it for years and business is good. I've never hired any staff. Just handle everything myself. Carol helps out sometimes when I get swamped. I was in the middle of taking inventory when I heard arguing outside. The boxes you want me to move are for a lingerie store. What's wrong with lingerie? You walk around commando Jasper. If you give me any more attitude. I'm telling Dad, you're a misogynist. You really want to test me right now. Don't you? The man's voice was laced with impatience. As their argument escalated, I hurried outside. It's okay. Really? There aren't that many boxes. I don't need this much help. I looked up to apologize to Carol's brother. I'm so sorry. Carol didn't explain what kind of shop it was. Before she dragged you over here. The words died in my throat. I was finally seeing his face clearly. Sharp, angular features. A handsome, commanding presence. Wore a dark brown jacket. And a wave of pure masculine energy seemed to roll off him. I forgot what I was going to say. The memory from 4 years ago hit me like a tidal wave. Knuckles tangled in my hair. The corded muscles of his forearms. The deep, ragged sound of his breathing. It was shocking how vividly I remembered every single detail. Fine, whatever. If you don't want to help, then just leave. Don't stand there scowling at us like we're begging you. Carol huffed, linking her arm through mine. Don't apologize to him. He's been gone for years and came back with zero manners. The man stepped in front of us, blocking our path. His gaze was locked on me. I fought to control the storm raging inside me and met his eyes. Feigning a calmness I didn't feel. He cleared his throat. Where's the merchandise? What merchandise? You said you needed help moving boxes. Where are they? Jasper took off his jacket, revealing a plain black t-shirt. Underneath was incredibly strong. The heavy boxes seemed like toys in his hands. He could carry 4 or 5 at a time. With him there, Carol and I were instantly rendered useless. Decorative bystanders. Carol sat on a stool, sipping a bubble tea and scrolling through her phone, happily directing her brother's labor. I hid in the stockroom, pretending to be busy with inventory. My mind in turmoil. I couldn't believe Nellie's father was my best friend's brother. Did he remember me? Probably not. It had been so long. My chaotic thoughts were interrupted by a deep voice. That's everything from out front. Oh, thank you. The cramped stockroom felt even smaller with his presence filling it. I took a step back, knocking something off a shelf. Before I could react, he bent down and picked it up. You dropped this. In his hand was a black bunny-eared bra. The delicate straps dangled from his fingers. A bizarrely harmonious match for his black shirt. I remembered with a jolt that I had been wearing. My face burst into flames. His eyes fixed on mine, seemed to darken. Leaned in closer. You seem afraid of me. Why? My breath hitched. Our eyes met and there was nowhere to run. My brain short-circuited. Carol said you hit women. I blurted out, not waiting for a response. I squeezed past him and bolted from the room. Carol, hearing the commotion, wandered over. Hit women? Which son of a bitch dares to hit a woman? Jasper's expression grew even darker. You keep talking and I might actually make an exception for you. Thanks to Jasper, the work was done in record time. A job that would have taken me until 8 was finished by 4. Carol, not wanting to impose any longer, started to drag Jasper away. But he stood his ground, perfectly at ease amidst the racks of lace and silk. The owner's so cheap she won't even buy us dinner. My cheeks flushed. Of course I'll treat. What would you like to eat? Carol's eyes went wide. Jasper, have you no shame making my friend buy you dinner? What kind of man are you? You pick the place. I'll pay. Now. That's more like it. Carol was finally satisfied. She hooked her arm in mine and whispered, my brother's actually loaded. So it's rare to see him open his wallet. Think of something good and don't hold back. Whether by chance or by design. The place she chose was right next to the bar, where Jasper and I had first met. Neither Jasper nor I were big talkers. Thankfully, Carol was there to fill the silence, making things less awkward. But I could feel Jasper's gaze on me the entire time. An intense, undisguised heat. Suddenly, my phone rang. Carol immediately leaned over to see the screen. Is that Nellie? I haven't seen her in ages. I miss her so much. Across the table, the man's expression shifted, becoming unreadable. I stepped outside to take the call. As I left, I heard his low voice ask, she's married? Jasper's question immediately set Carol off. What? What's that supposed to mean? A woman can't have a kid unless she's married. You're such a dinosaur. So she's not married. Jasper's posture relaxed back into its former casualness. He leaned back in his chair, took a sip of tea, and the corner of his mouth curved up. Good. Not married as good. So have you met the guy? What's his story? Carol stared at him, her expression growing stranger by the second. Bro, I gotta be honest. Your glee is a little too obvious. Just because you can't be happy doesn't mean you can drag everyone. Else down with you, right? Jasper frowned. Carol forged ahead. When Ava comes back, do not bring up Nellie's dad. I think the reason she hasn't dated all these years is because she's still hung up on that scumbag. At that, the smile on Jasper's face slowly faded. I waited until their siblings' squabble died down before rejoining them. I'd never told Carol the full story about Nellie's father. For one, Nellie was already born when we became friends. For another, I never thought I'd see him again. So what was the point? I'd vaguely mentioned that I couldn't get in touch with him after I found out I was pregnant. Carol had clearly filled in the blanks herself, painting him as a love M and leave M villain. Out of respect for my feelings, she never pushed for details, which led to this incredibly awkward situation. As much as I hated deceiving my best friend, I couldn't bring myself to reveal Nellie's parentage just yet. I didn't know Jasper. If things went sour between us, it could ruin my friendship with Carol, too. Later that night, Carol and I had a few more drinks. Jasper volunteered to be our designated driver. As the car headed north, Carol pressed her face against the window. Wrong way, wrong way. Ava's place is in the other direction. I'm dropping you off first. I have to go out later. I'm not heading home. Carol pouted. If I'd known you weren't going home, we wouldn't have let you drive. Ava and I could have found another spot for round 2. Jasper shot her a look but said nothing. He pulled up smoothly in front of the Finley house. Carol got out reluctantly. The thought of being alone with Jasper was unnerving. So I started to get out, too. My place isn't far from here. I can just grab a cab. If you have plans, you don't have to bother. It's no bother. It's on the way. Carol nodded. Exactly. Just let him drive you. It's not like he's got anything important to do this late at night. Anyway, arguing further would just make it weird. So I accepted. Where? To the Happiness Avenue apartments. Glanced at me in the rearview mirror. A hint of a smile in his eyes. Didn't you want a round 2? I can take you now. No. No. Carol was just kidding. I said politely, thank you both so much for today. You were a huge help. Acting like strangers. Are we, or have you forgotten? Have you forgotten? The question hung in the recycled air of the SUV, heavier than the silence that had preceded it. Jasper didn't turn to look at me, his eyes were fixed on the road, illuminated only by the rhythmic sweep of streetlights. I don't know what you're talking about, I lied, gripping my purse strap until my knuckles turned white. I've had a long day, Jasper. I just want to go home. He didn't speed up. Instead, he engaged the turn signal and pulled the heavy vehicle over to the curb, shifting it into park. The engine hummed, a low vibration that traveled through the seat and into my spine. He turned in his seat, the leather creaking. 4 years ago. The Blue Note bar. You were drinking a gin fizz. I was drinking whiskey, neat. My breath hitched. So you do remember. Remember? He let out a dry, humorless laugh. Ava, I spent 6 months thinking about that night while I was staring at the canvas ceiling of a tent in the middle of nowhere. You have a funny way of showing it, I snapped, the old hurt flaring up, overriding my anxiety. You left. You gave me a fake number. You ghosted me. Jasper's brows furrowed, the shadows casting deep lines across his forehead. Fake number? What are you talking about? I called it, I said, my voice trembling slightly. 4 weeks. It didn't exist. It was a disconnect. You played me, Jasper. Just admit it. He stared at me, his expression shifting from intensity to genuine confusion, and then, a dawning realization. He reached into the center console and pulled out a worn, leather-bound notebook. He flipped through it aggressively until he found a page near the beginning. My number, he said, reciting a string of digits. That's not what you wrote, I whispered. You wrote. I recited the number burned into my memory. Jasper closed his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose. My handwriting, he muttered. I wrote a 7. You read it as a 1. The silence that followed was deafening. A digit. One single, slanted line of ink was the difference between me being a single mother alone in the city and, whatever this could have been. I didn't play you, he said softly, his voice rough. I got deployed. Special ops. Radio silence was mandatory. By the time I got back to the States, I went to the bar. The bartender didn't know your name. I didn't know your last name. You were just, gone. He looked at me then, really looked at me, with a hunger that hadn't diminished in 4 years. I thought you were the one who moved on. I did move on, I said, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. I had to. I have a daughter now, Jasper. His gaze dropped to my hands, then back to my eyes. A flicker of pain crossed his face, the look of a man reminded of what he had lost, the injury Carol had mentioned. The injury that supposedly left him unable to have children. Right, he said, his voice tight. Carol said. That's good. I'm happy for you. He turned back to the steering wheel, his knuckles white. The intimacy of the moment shattered. He put the car in drive. Let's get you home to her. The next week was a blur of inventory and anxiety. I tried to keep my distance from the Finley family, but Carol was persistent. And apparently, so was Jasper. It started with a leaky faucet in the shop. I mentioned it to Carol in passing, and 2 hours later, Jasper walked through the front door with a toolbox in hand. Carol sent me, he said, not making eye contact. He fixed the sink in 10 minutes. Then he fixed the creaky hinge on the dressing room door. Then he tightened the loose leg on the display table. You don't have to do all this, I said, standing awkwardly by the register. I need the work, he grunted, testing the table's stability. Keeps my hands busy. Besides, Carol says you're single. Single moms need help with the heavy lifting. I handle things fine, I said defensively. I know you do. He stood up, wiping grease onto a rag. But you don't have to handle everything alone. The bell above the door jingled. Mommy. Grandma dropped me off. My heart stopped. Nellie burst in, her pigtails bouncing, carrying a plastic bucket full of rocks she'd collected. She skidded to a halt when she saw the giant of a man standing in the middle of the lingerie shop. Jasper turned. Time seemed to warp. I watched Jasper's eyes widen. He looked at Nellie, the dark, unruly hair, the stubborn set of her jaw, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she was assessing someone. She looked exactly like him. It was like looking at a photocopy, one zoomed out, one zoomed in. Who are you? Nellie demanded, placing hands on her hips. Jasper slowly crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level. The movement was fluid, graceful for a man of his size. I'm Jasper. I'm a friend of your mom's. Who are you? I'm Nellie. I'm 4. 4, Jasper repeated. His voice was incredibly gentle. That's a good age. Are you a giant? Sometimes, Jasper smirked. Are you a princess? No, Nellie scoffed, rolling her eyes, a gesture she definitely got from me. I'm a scientist. These are moon rocks. She rattled her bucket. Jasper didn't patronize her. He looked into the bucket with serious consideration. Basalt and granite. Good composition for moon rocks. Nellie beamed. You know rocks? I know a little bit about dirt and rocks, he admitted. I stood frozen, watching them. The panic was rising in my throat. He has to see it, I thought. He has to see his own face. But he didn't. He saw a child. He saw my child. And because he believed himself broken, because he believed his line had ended, the possibility that this girl was his flesh and blood didn't even compute. His trauma had created a blind spot so large it hid the truth standing right in front of him. You have cool scars, Nellie said, reaching out to touch a faint white line on his hand. Nellie, don't be rude, I interjected, stepping forward. It's okay, Jasper said, not looking away from my daughter. He let her trace the scar. I got that from a wire fence. Does it hurt? Not anymore. He stood up then, his face unreadable, but his eyes were wet. He looked at me. She's amazing, Ava. Thank you, I choked out. Her dad. He hesitated. Is he in the picture? No, I said quickly. He's gone. It's just us. Jasper nodded, a muscle in his jaw ticking. If you ever need anything. For her. You call me. And I'll make sure I write the number clearly this time. Over the next month, Jasper became a fixture in our lives. It was maddening. It was terrifying. It was wonderful. He wasn't just Carol's brother anymore, he was the guy who carried Nellie on his shoulders when we went to the park. He was the one who taught her how to skip rocks. He was the one who came over to kill a spider and stayed for dinner. Carol was ecstatic, though she kept pulling me aside to whisper warnings. Don't fall for him, Ava, she said one night over wine while Jasper and Nellie were watching cartoons in the living room. He's great, I know. But he's got a wall up. Since the accident. He thinks he's a dead end. He won't let himself get serious because he thinks he can't give a woman a family. I swirled my wine, the guilt eating me alive. What if having a kid wasn't the only way to make a family? For Jasper. It's a pride thing, Carol sighed. The Finley name. He's obsessed with the fact that it dies with him. Our parents don't help, constantly weeping about grandbabies. I looked into the living room. Nellie had fallen asleep on Jasper's chest. His large hand was resting protectively on her back, rising and falling with her breath. The sight brought tears to my eyes. The name doesn't have to die, I wanted to scream. She's right there. She's a Finley. But I was a coward. I was afraid that if I told him, he'd hate me for keeping her from him for 4 years. Or worse, he'd try to take her away. The breaking point came in November. Nellie caught a bad viral infection. Her fever spiked to 104 in the middle of the night. I was panic-stricken. I called Carol, but she didn't answer. I called Jasper. He was there in 6 minutes. He drove us to the ER, speeding through red lights with a calculated calmness that kept me from falling apart. He carried her in, bypassing the triage nurse with a command in his voice that made people move. They hooked her up to IVs. They ran tests. We sat in the waiting room, the fluorescent lights humming. Jasper was pacing. He looked like a caged animal. She'll be okay, I said, trying to reassure him. She's so small, he murmured. She looked so small in that bed. He dropped into the chair next to me and put his head in his hands. I can't lose her, Ava. I know I have no right to feel this way, she's not mine, but I feel like if anything happens to her, I'll come apart. I reached out and took his hand. Jasper. He looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed. I love her. I know that's crazy. I love her and I love you. And it kills me because I can't. I can't be the man you need. Why do you say that? Because you need a father for her. You need someone who can give you more children if you want them. I'm a mule, Ava. Nothing works. I'm defective. You are not defective, I said fiercely. I am, he insisted. I wanted to ask you out properly a dozen times. But I stopped myself. Because what's the point? I'm the end of the line. The doctor walked out then, holding a clipboard. Family of Nellie. We both stood up. She's stable, the doctor smiled. Fever is coming down. She's dehydrated, but she'll be fine. We both sagged with relief. We did notice something in her blood work though, the doctor said casually. She has a rare antibody marker. Nothing dangerous, just a genetic quirk. Usually passed down paternally. It's called the K7 trait. Does the father have a history of autoimmune resilience? The room stopped spinning. It just stopped. Jasper froze. He looked at the doctor. K7. Yes, the doctor said. It's quite rare. Jasper turned his head slowly to look at me. His face was pale. I knew he knew. Every soldier knew their own medical profile. And K7 sounded like something military doctors would have briefed him on 1,000 times. Ava, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Thank you, doctor, I said, my voice shaking. Can we see her? Go ahead. The doctor left. Jasper didn't move. He stood in the middle of the hallway, the bustling hospital fading into the background. K7, he repeated. I have that marker. It's extremely rare. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, tears streaming down my face. He took a step toward me. Ava. The dates. 4 years ago. I nodded. But. He looked at his hands, then at the door to Nellie's room. But the doctors told me, after the blast. The blast was 3 years ago, Jasper, I whispered. Nellie was already here. You weren't sterile when we met. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He staggered back, bracing himself against the wall. A myriad of emotions crossed his face, shock, confusion, betrayal, and then, an overwhelming, blinding joy. She's mine, he choked out. She's ours. He didn't speak. He turned and walked into the hospital room. Nellie was awake, sipping apple juice. She looked up when he entered. Jasper. Did you bring me a toy? Jasper walked to the side of the bed. He looked different now. The weight he had been carrying, the shame of his ended lineage, the feeling of brokenness, evaporated, replaced by a terrifying intensity of purpose. He fell to his knees beside the bed, burying his face in the mattress near her hand. His shoulders shook. Jasper? Nellie asked, concerned. Does your tummy hurt? He lifted his head. He was crying, silent tears tracking through the stubble on his cheeks. He took her tiny hand in his giant ones, treating it like it was made of spun glass. No, sweetie, he rasped. My tummy is fine. I'm really happy to see you. I watched from the doorway, sobbing. When he finally came out, 20 minutes later, the tenderness was gone, replaced by the storm. He backed me against the corridor wall, not aggressively, but with a need to be close, to understand. Why didn't you tell me, he demanded. When I came back. When you saw me at the shop. I thought you abandoned me. I hissed back. And then when I met you again, you told everyone you hated kids, that you were happy being alone. Carol told me you were sterile. I thought if I told you, you'd think I was a liar. Or that you'd hate me for hiding her. Hate you? He shook his head. I could never hate you. But you stole 4 years, Ava. For years I could have been her dad. You were deployed. I would have come back. If I knew. I would have torn the world apart to get back. I was scared, I admitted, my voice small. And then, when I saw you with her, you were so good. But I was scared you'd take her. He exhaled, a long, shuddering breath. He rested his forehead against mine. We have to tell them. Carol. My parents. Carol is going to kill me, I said. She might, he agreed. But she's going to be an aunt. A real one. That might save your life. The reveal happened at the Sunday barbecue 2 days later. Jasper insisted on it. He was a different man. He stood taller. The shadows under his eyes were gone. He held Nellie constantly. If she wasn't in his arms, she was holding his hand. We sat Carol and his parents down at the picnic table. I have an announcement, Jasper said. He was bouncing Nellie on his hip. Carol rolled her eyes, nursing a beer. What? You got a job. You bought a new truck. Better, Jasper said. He looked at me, giving me a nod of encouragement. You know how everyone thinks the Finley line ends with me? His mother sniffled. Oh, don't remind me. Well, Jasper said, a grin breaking across his face that made him look 10 years younger. It didn't. He looked at Nellie. Tell them what we talked about, Bug. Nellie looked at the stunned group. She pointed a small finger at Jasper. This is my daddy. Silence. Absolute, total silence. A bird chirped. A car honked in the distance. Carol dropped her beer. The glass shattered, beer foaming over the patio stones. What? Carol whispered. She looked from Jasper to Nellie, then to me. Her eyes narrowed, doing the math. Ava. 4 years ago. The mystery guy. The one the rough one. Her mouth fell open. You slept with my brother. It was one time. I squeaked. And you didn't tell me? Carol stood up, looking like she was about to flip the table. I didn't know it was him until a month ago. And you? Carol pointed at Jasper. You knocked up my best friend. I didn't know either. Jasper defended. Oh my God, Jasper's mom whispered. She stood up, her hands trembling. She walked over to Nellie. She looked at the girl's face, really looked at it for the first time without the filter of Ava's friend's kid. She saw the Finley nose. The eyes. Oh my God, she sobbed. A granddaughter. The chaos that ensued was legendary. Carol was screaming, half in fury, half in delight. Jasper's dad was pumping Jasper's hand, slapping his back hard enough to bruise. Jasper's mom was hugging me, then Nellie, then me again. Amidst the noise, Jasper found me. He wrapped his arm around my waist and pulled me into his side. We have a lot to figure out, he murmured into my ear. Custody, living arrangements, how to make it up to you. We have time, I said, leaning into him. The heat of his body was grounding. Marry me, he said. I choked on air. What? I'm serious. I missed 4 years. I'm not missing another second. I want to wake up with you. I want to put her to bed every night. Marry me. I looked up at him. The man who had haunted my dreams for 4 years. The man who had thought he was finished, only to find he was just beginning. Ask me properly, I said, smiling. Maybe after you buy me dinner. Deal. 2 years later. The backyard was chaotic. Streamers were everywhere. 6-year-old Nellie was leading a pack of children, cousins from the extended family, on a treasure hunt. I sat on the porch swing, resting my hand on my swollen stomach. 7 months along. The doctors had been wrong about Jasper. Or maybe, miracles just happened. The injury had made it difficult, unlikely even, but not impossible. And as Jasper liked to say, he was special ops, he specialized in the impossible. Carol walked out, handing me a lemonade. You know, I still haven't fully forgiven you for keeping that secret. You're the godmother of both my children, I laughed. I think we're even. True. She watched her brother across the yard. Jasper was at the grill, flipping burgers. He looked up, caught my eye, and winked. He was laughing at something Nellie shouted. He looked whole. He's a good dad, Carol said softly. The best, I agreed. Jasper abandoned the grill to someone else and jogged over to the porch. He kissed my forehead, then kissed my stomach. How are my girls? Hungry, I said. Burger coming right up. He crouched down, his face level with my belly. And you, little one. You stay in there a bit longer. Daddy's not ready for the sleep deprivation yet. He stood up and took my hand, pulling me gently to my feet. Come on. Mom's making a speech. I think she's going to cry about the Finley dynasty again. Let her, I smiled, looking out at Nellie running through the grass, her laughter ringing in the air like a bell. She's right. The name wasn't finished. It was just getting started.